Inkwell Isle, Cuphead and his brother Mugman are two fun-loving children who live under the watchful eye of the Elder Kettle. Against his warnings, the brothers wander off, enter the Devil's Casino, and begin playing craps when they... Whoa. Actually, enough of the Wikipedia article. The game explains itself perfectly well.
Well, Cuphead and his pal Mugman, they like to roll the dice. By chance they came on a devil's game, and gosh, they paid the price. Paid the price. And now they're fighting for their lives on a mission fraught with dread. And if they proceed but don't succeed, well, the devil will take their heads.
So yeah, two kids trying not to get their heads cut off by the devil. Great way to foreshadow the despair that ensues in this vid. So this is Cuphead, a 2017 run-and-gun video game developed and published by Studio MDHR. This game, at the time of its release, was, and even still to this day, praised for its art, gameplay, soundtrack, and, perhaps most importantly for the context of this video, difficulty. To introduce myself to those of you who are new, my name is Jax. I go by many names, most of which really boil down to just a different spelling, adding a word or two, or putting 3 unimportant numbers at the end of my social media handle. Creative, I know. That aside, today I take you on a journey of happiness, sadness, trial, and tribulation. Normally this is where I'd input the funny highlights involving some clever commentary or banter, but I forgot to record my microphone over this 2-hour stream, so this'll have to do for now. There are a lot of games that I've never played, Cuphead being one of them, and so, in an effort to desperately reach out to the YouTube algorithm and you the viewers because I'm thirsty for views and that sweet YouTube coin, I thought, what better way to enjoy my first playthrough on these games than to not only stream it while experiencing it blind, but to attempt to speedrun the entire game. Yes, seriously. Welcome to Noob%. Now, let's break down some rules. Initially the plan was just to see how long it would take me to beat a game completely blind as fast as possible, but that's rather boring, and more of a long play rather than a speed run. So, to spice it up, I thought I could implement my own set of rules to give myself, not only to have a nice structure to follow, but also to maybe make it a little less ridiculous on myself. But here's a rather pertinent question. What exactly is a speedrun? A speedrun can be defined in its most basic form as an attempt to complete a game as fast as possible. Simple, right? Well, that's not all there is to it. In fact, when we dig just a little deeper is when we start to get to each category for each separate run and its own set of rules for each game. From the any % runs, in which the goal is to complete the game with the minimum requirements, to the more obscure categories such as the burn a pie speedrun. So the question becomes, what should we go for in this series? Get to a certain point? Beat all the bosses? Complete the game? Well, the answer is perhaps, and maybe not as well. Let me explain. Here are our rules. Rule number 1. For each Noob% run, I am giving myself 3 chances to complete the game in the allotted time of my choosing, though it is dependent on the game's intended length. For this speedrun of Cuphead, I'm giving myself 4 hours to play the game until I get to the end credit scene. Rule number 2. For my first attempt, I must have not played the game at all. The goal is to start each game as blind as possible, That means no researching the game, any speedruns or tips, including what bosses I should and shouldn't beat. And finally, no researching what the end of the game actually looks like. Assuming I somehow beat the game on the first attempt, I will take the end credits as my stopping point. Rule number 3. After each consecutive attempt, I'm allowing myself one pointer or a tip. For example, with this first attempt, we're going in with no tips and completely blind. If I fail, then prior to attempt number 2, I can research one portion or aspect about said game. This could be which bosses are necessary to complete the game, it could be a speedrun strat or a skip, etc. However, it can only be one. If I fail that attempt, then I am allowed again one other tip, for a total of 2 tips per run. Rule number 4. If I feel as though I will not complete the run in the allotted time, I can force quit and start on my second attempt. However, if I do this, I will incur a penalty, meaning that I will not have access to the perk or the hint mentioned in rule number 3. And for now, that's all the rules. However, I was thinking about maybe adding a 5th rule in which I place random restrictions or maybe even random ways to assist myself on a roulette and getting a random rule with each game. For this moment though, it's up in the air and I am more than open to suggestions, so leave a comment below if you have any ideas for an additional rule or additional rules even. Well, now that we've established some rules, let's get started on our journey. A new world of excitement, despair, failure, and triumph. Maybe. We begin our journey with an incredibly difficult obstacle: ignorance. As I mentioned before, I have absolutely no idea what to expect on my first attempt, so therefore I have no idea what is or isn't required, and this is definitely apparent in the fact that I have no idea where I have to go, who I have to fight, and how to actually fight them. In this story, ignorance is definitely not bliss. After unnecessarily beating the tutorial, I aimlessly paced the hard wooden floors of my teacups, grandfather's home, hoping to find a sense of purpose. Finally, I decided to commit to being unafraid of change and head out into the wonderful world of, what was this place called again? Don't remember. But before I left, my grandfather tried to impart some words of wisdom. However, I, being the ever-busy cup that I am, have no need for such drivel.
Yugi, I failed.
My first stop on my journey was the Forest Follies, a lush, lively forest filled with sentient, lemon-headed deadly daisies that float from the sky. Murderous mushrooms that pop up out of the ground like a Diglett waiting to be caught by a red cap-wearing kid from Pallet Town, the overly optimistic looking, psychopathic, terrible tulip that launches whatever the heck that is from its insides. Alongside this are the chain chomps, toothy tears, bothersome blueberries, spikes? How the heck do those things even float? And I died. Yeah, this one took a few tries. All in all, it took about 19 minutes. Not bad, I think. Next, we enter the ghastly mausoleum, and next we struggle to find our way again. Okay, so what we actually do next is try not to get killed by roly-polies and Woody the Woodpecker. After showcasing my awesome speedrunning abilities, I come across the dreaded Squidward logs. Well, actually they weren't that hard to deal with. My last and perhaps greatest obstacle was the Flying Graysons.
Robin, we have found something most serious.
What is it?
Your parents! They're here, man!
Well, where are they?
They are just on the other side of the door.
Mommy! Daddy! Your baby is coming! Get the door! Go!
April Fools!
You sure did get me. You sure did.
Beetles. Beetles. Anyway, So yeah, they killed me a bunch of times, but it was mostly due to my impatience. Overall, that wasn't too bad and took about 10 minutes. Following this, I actually had a pretty decent time with the bosses, and honestly, in hindsight, had I been a bit more patient, I could have beaten most of them on my first attempt. Though, to give myself a little less credit, I didn't know whether it mattered if I did simple or regular difficulty, so I ended up mixing it up between bosses. Little did I know how much of an inconvenience choosing regular would be for me. Because I don't want to drag out this video for too long, I'm just going to leave a list of the least troublesome bosses as well as some stats like at what point in the run I was when I beat them and how many times I died. After speaking with Mr. Distachio himself to try to determine exactly when my pain and suffering would be over, I came upon perhaps the most rage-inducing, tear-jerking, soul-crushing boss as of yet. Ribby and Croak's Clip Joint Calamity. As the saying goes,
"You feeling froggy? Then leap."
And leap I did. Leap I did.
A brawl is surely brewing. It's on!
Oh my god, glad that's finally over. Now I can finally move on to Aisle 2 where... Okay, so maybe we can instead do the Sugarland Shimmy with Baroness von Bonbon and... Okay, yeah, I'm giving up on this run.